All right, this is the Exodus Way recap for the week of I don't know, where are we? We're in March the 12th, and on Sunday our message really revolved around Exodus 16, 17, 18. I specifically addressed the manna, water from the rock. Those were the two big things I hit. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just gonna like fire off what I didn't do. Well, I'm going to fire off the whole thing.
All right.
So we have manna. I did not talk about quail, which you right away remind me that I didn't talk about.
I said, why do you hate quail so much?
Hey, quail's a bunch. Then we have water from the rock. Then we have a little skirmish, a war.
Mhm.
That's a really big deal. And then we have Jethro basically saying to Moses, "What are you doing?"
Mhm.
So that's my brief mental outline from 16, 17, 18. Why was it a big deal that I skipped the quail?
It's not. It's not. I, honestly, my favorite part of the quail is, and it continues the theme of they don't they want something else. So they've got this manna, and they're like, okay, but we really want some meat. And God's like, okay, and then God says, I'm going to give you so much meat it comes out your nose.
Yeah.
Basically, in the Hebrew, it's a funny expression in the Hebrew, but I'm gonna give you more quail than you know what to deal with, and that had to be an amazing sight. So, it feeds into God provides. It's
Yeah.
literally just another step in what you were saying, and I realize you can't hit everything, and we know that. So, but it's God provided yet again,
Yeah.
and literally, it's here's something else that I'm going to give you. But the thing that strikes me about all of this is human nature hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So they have everything. They have everything they could ever need in Yahweh. And he says, I'm going to do all these miracles, and it's not enough. We need food. Okay, I'm going to give you food. It's not enough.
Yeah.
We want meat and manna. Okay, I'm going to give you meat. It's still not enough. I'm going to defeat your enemies, but it's not enough.
Yep.
And literally every step of the way, God provides, and they say, we need more.
Yep.
And all week I've been wrestling with how many times do I say, I need more?
Yeah.
Oh, if only I had. No, Jesus died on the cross. That's what we need. And God has given us, and I don't have the scripture pulled up, but it was um, in my Bible study a couple days ago. God has given us everything we need for godliness and to be like Him
Yeah.
and to live a proper life. And I was like, wait, He's already given us everything we need. Then why do I always think I
I
need
need
more?
more.
And that's because I'm not content.
Yeah.
Then I flip over to Paul, who said, be content
Content.
whatever your circumstances. And I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
And so that's been my weeks. I think it's literally, well, you know why.
Yeah.
We talked about it before we started taping, for those who are watching, but literally it's be content. And I'm like, how do you do that?
I don't know. How do we do that? Interesting. It's funny you say that. Last night, I went into the pantry. It's full. There's food everywhere. Frankly, very, very fortunate. No problem with food insecurity in my house. And yet there was nothing there I wanted.
Oh, that's good.
I was like, and I really thought about this. I thought, oh man, this is me. I've got plenty of quote unquote manna, but I want quail. Actually, I wanted something a lot better than quail,
Right.
but it wasn't there, so I settled for manna. But the reality is, we do this all the time.
We do.
We have a good enough car, and what do we want? A
Yep.
better car. We
Yep.
have a good enough house. What do we want? A bigger
Yep.
house. We are not the most content
Right. We
people.
have a paycheck.
Yeah.
We always want a bigger paycheck.
Yes.
Like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, do we believe that God said, I will supply everything you need?
Yeah. Do you think, and we're getting really personal here. This is like super practical stuff. You spoke about contentment. Um, do you think there is some sort of separation between us learning to be content in what God has done versus what the world has told us contentment is, what satisfaction is, and How do we begin to reframe our minds away from that back to God?
Mm. Wow. So I dealt with this in my high school classes that I taught, and we were kind of dealing with the prophets and some things. And I asked him this question, and I really didn't plan on it taking off the way it did. But I asked him, "What's a success?"
Mm.
And we wrote it on the board. How do you define success? And without fail, every class I've done it, make a lot of money,
Yeah.
make a name for yourself, get, whatever. And we have all these ideas of success. And then I take it to the Bible and I say, how does God define success?
Mm.
And to me, that's where we have to start because uh, the way I define it, according to the Old Testament, is God defines the success as obedience.
Mm.
And so if you're obedient, you're a success. And so we look at these people in the Bible who did these things. I mean, let's look at Moses. Good grief, we're in Exodus. So was he always a success? I mean, he didn't get to go into the promised land, so he failed. But is he a success as a leader? Yes, because he obeyed God.
Yeah.
And so we see this obedience versus disobedience throughout the
Mhm.
Bible. And I think that's where we have to start. Let God define what a success is. And if I define myself as a success because I'm obedient to God, then I'll be okay with what I have
Mhm.
because I'll see myself as a success.
Yeah.
And I think that drive for more is, first of all, human nature. I think we always want more. But I think that's because we don't fully understand what we have and we're not defining ourselves as a success, even if we fail.
Yeah.
But I'm obedient to God and repent and do the thing, then
Mhm.
then I'm a success. So I think that's where we have to start.
That's good. That's good. So agree. Obedience is something we don't talk a lot about these days.
Mm.
I don't know that we've strayed away from it, but we like to talk more about grace, and we like to talk about. I don't think you can have grace without obedience.
Nope.
But with that being said, I think that we do our best to kind of navigate around this idea of obedience. But the truth is, Scripture from beginning to end is calling us to obedience, and we're going to actually get into that in this coming week and in the next little bit as we begin to look at the law. Moses goes up to the mountain. God's going to give law. Even in that short time, the people aren't able to be obedient.
Right.
So there's this call back a couple chapters ago where, in essence, God says to the Israelite people, "Obey these commands, follow me, and basically, I'm going to provide for you." And you've stated this over and over. The greatest goal of Exodus to this point is that people would know Yahweh,
Mhm.
that they would see Yahweh, and they'd be like, "Oh, wow, I want to even more so know Yahweh because of what he's doing." And so obedience is a crucial piece that moves into this. And
I think one of the things we've moved away from obedience, I think, but I think one of the reasons why is because obedience requires accountability.
mm,
A covenant requires accountability. When I ask people to define a covenant, they say it's a promise.
yeah,
I say, no, it's a promise with conditions.
yes,
It is not just a promise because I can say, yeah, I promise to do this, but there's no consequence.
mm,
And that's what our world wants is
yeah,
I'll set my own agenda, but we have to be obedient, but there has to be some accountability.
yeah,
All throughout Exodus, God says, here's my law and here's the consequences of breaking it.
hmm,
Here's my covenant. God will never break his side.
yeah,
But when we do, he's like, okay, and here are the consequences. So obedience requires accountability. We don't like accountability. We
right,
don't like obedience that much. So we just kind of toss it a little bit and we say, you can figure it out on your own. Well, that's contrary to what the Bible teaches from
mm,
cover to cover.
yeah.
Like,
You just brought up a word. I think you defined it, but I think it's important to show how expansive the word covenant is in the Bible.
yeah,
And we literally we divide the Bible into Old Testament and New Testament, but better defined would be Old
Old Covenant.
Covenant, New Covenant. Covenant is what God does. And I mean, we have the there's really a covenant made with Adam and Eve in the garden.
Hmm.
There's a covenant made with Noah.
Hmm.
There's a covenant made with Abraham. There's a covenant then made with Moses, and then there will be a covenant made with David in the Old Testament. And then so Jesus in the New Testament is going to give us the new covenant, which is the fulfillment of all five of the Old Testament covenants. And it's fulfilled through his death, resurrection, him doing for us what we can't do for ourselves, and then sealed with the Holy Spirit.
Hmm.
Um, that was just a little ramble to make sure that
That's
we
good.
see the significance of covenant throughout Scripture at large. Um, Back to Exodus, um, these people are called to obey, and I do find this to be. I want to think I would never be like this,
Right.
but they've watched these 10 miracles of God. They've been delivered. They see the final one, the Passover. They see the Red Sea part. They walk across on dry land, and now they're seeing they're seeing manna,
Hmm.
and there still seems to be a lack of trust
Yeah,
that's there, and I think that that is just so interesting to me. At what point do we begin to say, "Ah, wow, God has always provided; He will provide"? And I think that's a heart condition
it is. Yeah,
that we're all having to work on, and I think it's based on the intimacy of that relationship with Yahweh
absolutely. Absolutely. They literally saw the presence of God in the pillar of fire and cloud every single
every
day.
single day.
And they
Yeah,
still grumbled and they still rejected. And we always think, well, if I could just see a sign. No, we wouldn't, because it's a heart issue.
yeah,
It's not a I need proof issue, because we know in our hearts the truth. I
yeah,
think everyone knows that there is a God. I think
yeah.
people just deny it because they don't want the consequences. They don't want the accountability.
Hmm.
But yes, that relationship is everything. And I think that's human nature again, which goes back to the contentment of I see God working and yet I'm not good with it.
Yeah.
Or I worry or I fear or I'm like, is he going to take care of me? Man, you can see him right in front of you.
Hmm.
You saw him confuse the Egyptian army and drown them. You saw him over and over and over.
I think you've already said this in a way, but my mind is going to this back to I was looking at my own life and I'm thinking, goodness, if I were in that circumstance, how would I feel? Would I look at the pillar and be like, oh yeah, God's right there? Would I look at the manna and the quail and be like, oh yeah, God's right there? I want to say yes, and I think everybody always says yes, just like everybody says, if I were in the garden like Adam and Eve, I wouldn't have done what they
Correct.
did.
Right.
I've met very few people who think they wouldn't. Um, but with that being said, I think one of the things we have to remember that we've said is God's bringing us out of something to something. He's
Yes.
delivering us to something, but then there's the in between.
Hmm.
And this is where it's challenging and difficult, and this is about the formation and transformation, formation of character, transformation of who we are. God's going to make these people into something different than they already were.
Hmm.
Um, One of the reasons I grumble is because I think I should be transferred from here to here. And
Yeah.
I don't want to think about the middle part, but I think one of the things that's helpful for me is to remember, no, I really do have to go through the wilderness.
Yes.
It's not because God's punishing me,
Yep.
it's because he's transforming
Yep.
me.
He is shaping me into what he wants me to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Let me just real quickly. I have a way to tell, because we all do this. Oh, I would never do that. I can tell you who would be and who wouldn't be by how grateful you are.
mm,
Because today I have everything I need and a bunch more, and I'm not grateful. I'm
yeah.
not content. I guarantee you, you put me back then, I'm a complainer.
Oh,
But you show me a person that is grateful for what they've been given and is
yeah.
grateful for every day as a gift and is grateful to eat.
Yeah.
not to eat what we want, but
but
just
to
to
eat.
eat. That's a person who back then would have been like, "Yep, God is amazing and good." And I think that's a simple heart issue
Yeah.
of how's my gratitude level?
So it's really interesting you say that. You just mentioned that, and I remember a book I read 3, maybe 4 years ago now. It's called The Grumbler's Guide to Gratitude.
Mhm.
And goodness, it might basically walk through Exodus. I cannot remember. But seriously, it's a great title, Grumbler's Guide to Gratitude.
Great book.
And the antidote to grumbling, they suggest gratitude. What everything you just said, that's excellent little book.
Yes.
So sorry for that
No,
side note ramble,
that's,
but
yeah,
nope,
it's awesome.
that's so good. So an application might be this: is man, write down my list of gratitude. We say this as part of our rhythm around here, and I really think that Exodus talks about, and we said this this week with the rhythm of for 6 days you're going to collect, and on the seventh day you're going to rest. You're going to
Mhm.
trust God, which I want to come back to that. Um, the the idea is we need spiritual rhythm, and one of the spiritual rhythms we talk about around here is our daily prayer rhythm. In the morning, praying the Lord's Prayer. At midday, praying for that person that the Lord's laid on your heart, and may not be walking in a relationship with Him. And then we like to say at nighttime, prayers of gratitude, stopping at the end of the day and saying, God, where did I see you today? I'm so grateful for that. I think that rhythm has changed my life almost as much as anything I've done.
Yeah. If you want to adapt your heart, when I think that's a great way. And when you pray at night, focus on what you have and list that.
Hmm.
Why? I don't understand, but we list what we don't have
That's right.
as if it's a glaring need.
Hmm.
But if God has given us everything we need and
Yep.
then some, why am I identifying the things I don't have? And again, Exodus, we have manna. Why do we need
Yeah.
quail? You don't,
Hmm.
but we want it. Okay. And God's like, fine, I'll give it to you. But again, we list the things we don't have. And by the way, the world is full of things we don't have, but they won't make us happy.
They won't.
What the trick is to be thankful for what you have, because then you'll be happy. And if you get more, you'll be happy. And if you lose some of it,
So good.
you can still be happy.
Yeah.
So I like that. Count, I know it's the old hymn, count your blessings.
You know,
List what we have
yeah.
instead of what I don't have. Because when you focus on what you're missing, that's negative.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to be discontent. So that's back to the answer
That's
to the question, how do we get our heart there? I'm still on that.
so
Great.
good. So good. So the Sabbath is again introduced in this story. And one of the things that that I don't know if I did it spoke about it clearly enough on Sunday or not, that I've been really thinking about is this idea that Sabbath is a way of of obedience. Number
Mhm.
one, God calls them to obedience. Do this,
Yes.
and He works it in. I mean, literally works it into their being, because on Sunday, or not Sunday, on the seventh day,
Right.
there is there's no manna,
Right.
there's no quail. Um, on that day, they had to trust what God told them to do. And I think there's just so much to learn from that idea of in our culture specifically of, man, God knows what He's talking about.
Yeah.
I can rest. Rest is not a sign of weakness.
Right.
And you know,
Hmm.
the Christian chicken, Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
um, they figured this out, right?
Yeah.
They figured this out. Do I'm asking this in the form of a question, but um, do you know the top grossing fast food restaurant in the nation? Chick-fil-A.
Hmm.
And they're open 52 days a year, at least less than their
Correct.
competitors.
Mhm.
They figured this out.
Yep.
They figured out that from a human resources perspective,
Mhm.
this works.
Yep.
They've figured out from a uh, an employee satisfaction level, this works. They figured out they're not actually losing money by being closed down for a day. My whole point with that is we often say, "Oh, but I just couldn't. I couldn't turn off for a day.
Yep.
I cannot do that." I want to ask you a question. I know you can answer it, but I think one of the things that is different about the what we'll call the Jewish Sabbath that we don't recognize is it's not they don't count the day like we count the day.
Correct.
Talk about the this idea of Sabbath for a moment. We'll get to it again
Sure.
because we're going to go
Right.
into the Ten Commandments, but let's talk about Sabbath.
So the cool thing is, they count their day from sundown to sundown, and this is very foreign to us, Western thinkers. But if you read the account of Genesis, and there was morning and there was evening,
Hmm.
and there was the first day. And so literally it's, oh, then there was evening, then there was morning. And so it kind of sets up that pattern
Yeah.
of, and so they literally would start at sundown to the next day, sundown,
Hmm.
which by the way makes fasting so much different because
Yes.
then you're not going, so you can eat before and then you can fast. But anyway, but yes, it was an important thing. And the thing that I go back to is God said to do this. God said, be obedient.
Hmm.
And then God said in the law on Mount Sinai, if you break this, you were to be put to death.
Yikes.
And I'm like, wait, what? I'm sorry. We mock the Pharisees for defining work on the Sabbath, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
but they're
if
trying to
it's
be
going to get me
obedient.
killed, I need to know what work is. I
Yeah.
need to understand this concept. Now, obviously, I'm not suggesting that we start killing people on the Sabbath for breaking the Sabbath, but if God said this is so serious
Hmm.
that it can cost you your life, why do we take it so flippantly?
Yeah.
Why don't we spend more time talking about it? And so, yeah, I think it's a tremendously important concept. God knows we need rest.
Yeah.
God knows what we need. And back to your chicken. By the way, I love Chick-fil-A. You know what happens on Sunday? I can't get Chick-fil-A, and
Hmm.
it makes me want it
Want
more
more.
on Monday.
That's right.
So they've figured out that if you have a constant stream of something, you get complacent.
Yeah.
And God knew this. That's why he said, I want you to take a break. I want you to rest because it makes you then hunger even the more,
Yeah.
I think. So,
That's good.
um,
That's such a good good reminder. We'll talk. I think we'll end up. I don't know. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, talking a little bit more about Sabbath because um, the Ten Commandments. I think they're going to have to be defined to a certain degree for us, and I think they can. I think they can be applied to our lives
mhm,
today.
mhm,
And so we'll have some conversation to have about that. But I think we should all have a Sabbath.
mm.
Um, Easy to say, easy to do.
I mean, God says we should.
Yeah, but maybe us defining it
Yes.
will help, and we'll talk about how we can maybe do it more applicably in a more applicable way. So I want to talk about two things we didn't get to really quickly, because they are less connected to they're less connected to the provision of sustenance.
Mhm,
So in chapter 17, after water comes from the rock, we have the introduction of the Amalekite people. The first, I don't know whether to call it skirmish or war or what, but pretty big deal, starting at verse 8. And it's it's pretty wild.
mhm.
And some of you may know the story. I guess Jeremy, you want to like give a if you don't want to, I can a 2 second like overview of what happens in this I don't know 15 verses or so, 7 verses.
Golly, how do you sum that up? They get attacked. they
Yeah,
they face a real enemy that is that they're supposed to displace.
yeah,
And so they again are not trained warriors. They are I would think terrified because here are these people who have, while they were slaves in Egypt, they've been honing their craft at warfare and making
Yeah.
weapons, and so they're literally coming against them. And um, I mean, and yeah, and then God delivers them, which
So we are introduced to some characters here. I'll just mention a couple of them. We're introduced for the first time to Joshua,
mm-hmm,
who will end up being the successor to Moses in time. He's commanded to go and select some troops to go fight against the Amalekites. Um, so I find that to be just a really interesting thing here. Select for us,
mm-hmm,
go fight.
yep,
I think that is important. Moses has the staff in his hand. Joshua is fighting, and up on the hill, Moses is when he raises the staff.
mm-hmm,
They're they're succeeding. They're winning, and anytime he brings down the staff, the Amalekites begin to win. Um, what's this story really about?
hmm. Uh, who wins the battle?
The question is, who wins the battle?
Right. So, how do I fight,
Hmm.
and how do I win?
Yeah.
They're fighting against somebody better than them, stronger than them, in every way, shape, or form. Better trained, better equipped, better structure. Nothing against Moses, but they have a structure.
Hmm.
They have help. They have
Yeah.
people around them, allies and things. So, um, but that's a recurring theme through Exodus and all of the Old Testament. Who wins the battle? And we look at it and we go, oh, the better, stronger fighter wins. And
Yeah.
God looks at it and says, who does it? So, and by the way, the universal symbol for surrender is to put your hands up.
Mm,
And
yeah.
Moses puts his hands up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, why? Because he's saying, look, I can't do this on my own. So if you want to win the battle, whatever that battle is, applying this today, put your hands up and surrender it to God,
Yeah.
and then say, God. And then the other awesome thing is, we talked about accountability. You got to have a couple brothers who come alongside you,
That's
because
it.
I'm going to get weak,
Yep.
because I can't hold my arms up that long.
Ah, see,
And
that'll
so
preach.
I bring it right. So I bring my brothers alongside of me, because God never designed us to do this alone.
Yes.
And so you hold me accountable. Don't let my hands fall.
Yep.
And I'm going to get weak. And then, hey, I got you, brother.
Yep.
So,
So good. So Aaron and Hur,
mhm,
does that say how you
yep.
say it right? Hur come alongside Moses as his arms get weak, and on each side they hold them up.
Hmm.
So accountability, support. I
Hmm.
read a Jewish commentary a couple while ago. I don't know when it was, and it suggested this. It said that another purpose of this is that it says when they looked up and Moses' arms were up, they were winning, and when they looked up and his arms were down, they were losing. And this Jewish commentator suggested that the point of this was not Moses, it was his arms lifted up, and it was making them look to the heavens. It was making them look to Yahweh.
Hmm.
And this commentator's, and I'll let you dive in on this, verse 15. And Moses, after the Lord won that battle for them, Moses built an altar and named it,
Yahweh Nisi.
"The Lord is my banner." And I think that is just an important thing. So talk to us about that. Um,
I love this. This is awesome. And I literally where I was going to go while you were like, so that's awesome. A banner is the flag that you fight under.
mhm,
So they usually would go first, and the banner is what, as long as the banner is held up, you know you're still fighting.
yeah,
If the banner's gone, you know either that person was taken out or we've retreated, but you fight behind that banner. So it's the flag under which you fight.
yeah,
And so Yahweh Nisi, I fight under God. We're not fighting for our own wants and desires. We're
that's
not
it.
fighting because I think you need to be fought against. We're fighting because God told us to do this.
Mhm,
And so when God is your banner, Yahweh Nisi in Hebrew, God goes before you, but God is your identity.
that's it.
God is who you're fighting for. This battle belongs to
God,
Yahweh Nisi
yes,
because it's his banner, not ours. And we so often we get our own banner, we get our
yeah,
own reason to fight. oh, I'm going to get in trouble. But we pick on political things that
Mhm.
God's like, don't fight that. Let me fight that.
Mhm.
But man, we get caught up in it. We
Yeah.
get caught up in church stuff that may or may not. We argue amongst denominations about silly things that don't really matter. All the while, we have an enemy that
Yeah.
God said, I want you to be fighting
That's it.
against. And
Yeah.
we're often fighting against our own people.
Mm.
And so we need that banner. We need that to look to. And again, the banner you look to, you see the flag moving forward. You know where to go in the battle because where the flag is going, where the banner is going, again, Yahweh is the banner.
Yeah.
And so Moses has his hands up. Yes, they're looking to him and they're saying, oh, we're doing this for the Lord.
Yeah. A note I wrote here, interestingly, is this it this battle isn't just earthly. The
Mm.
battle that was going on there isn't just earthly. Moses knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and Hur learned that.
Yes.
And that's part of the thing here for all of us is going through these battles is when we learn it's not just earthly.
Right.
God is Yahweh
Yeah.
Nisi.
Yes.
He is my banner. I'm following under him.
And what he started in the burning bush, I'm going to reveal myself to you.
Yes.
And now what's he revealing? I have power that defies your understanding, that defies your logic, that defies your enemy, that defies everything your body and heart and mind are screaming.
So
We
good.
can't win this battle. And he says, no, you can't.
Yep.
But look what I can do.
Yeah.
And he is revealing himself as Almighty God, as the living God, as Yahweh Nisi, God our banner. He's revealing who he is.
Yeah.
And he's saying, you can trust me. Like, I can take out this enemy. And again, this runs through the whole Bible, but there's an enemy, a big one, Goliath,
Yeah.
Amalekites, so many ites in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Jericho, there's some walls. We
Mm-hmm.
can't take this city because they got big old giants and big walls.
Yeah.
God's like, yeah, march around and worship.
Yeah.
That is not the right answer militarily. And God says, worship,
Yeah.
and the walls fall. He is revealing he alone has the power. And I love it.
I think that's really important. He alone is the one with the power. I think it could be at moments. This is really, really challenging. I think the Hebrew people could be saying, "We got Moses."
Yep.
I think this is one of the things that can happen here is we got Moses, but the very next story is is just another way of pointing to the beginning of chapter 18 that Moses is great.
Mhm.
However, um, he also is a wreck and a mess, and probably like too many of us, he takes way more responsibility on himself than he should.
Yep.
After this battle, his father-in-law brings his wife and his two boys back to him, and we have a neat thing. We have a neat thing here where they make sacrifice. They have a meal together, and Jethro, who is a Midianite priest, has these like words. I'm trying to find them really quickly. Verse 9: Jethro rejoiced over all the good things the Lord had done for the Israelites
Mhm.
when he rescued them from the power of the Egyptian. And he says, "Blessed be the Lord who rescued you from the power of Egypt and from the power of Pharaoh. He rescued the people from under the power of God. Now I know."
Mhm.
I think this is really important. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all lowercase g gods
Mhm. Mhm.
because he did wonders when the Egyptians acted arrogantly against Israel.
Mhm.
Big moment.
Mhm.
What do you want to say about it?
Now I know Yahweh is God.
This is what the fifth time in the book of Exodus. He said it four times before this. Is at this point, I want you to know that I am God.
Yes.
And here,
Yes. And literally, God, Yahweh says, I will show you that I am God. And now, by the way, the magicians, Pharaoh's magicians said, this is the finger of Yahweh.
yeah,
This is the finger of your God. And so now they've noticed, and now everyone else, and someone in Midian
yeah,
has noticed, and it's like, yeah, we're following the story. We know that Yahweh has done things. And again, what's our testimony?
yeah,
How do I know Yahweh? And again, we talk about counting our what we don't have, but recount what God has done.
Yes.
How do I know God heals? Because he's healed me.
Uh huh.
How do I know God is with me? Because he said, I'll never leave you or forsake you,
Hmm.
and he never has. How do I know that God's covenant is real? Because he never breaks his promise, even when I fail it. He says, okay, come home.
Yeah.
I'm still being faithful. So, yeah, I think it's an amazing admission of, and compare this with the Hebrews.
Yeah.
How many of these things was Jethro? Sorry, I always say it with a Hebrew because the J is a Y. How many of these things did he see?
Yeah.
Was he with them when the Red Sea parted? Was he with them when the plagues happened? Was he with them? But he saw their deliverance, and he goes, "That's clearly God." And then you got the people over here going, "We see him daily," and we're like, "We kind of want some more."
Yeah. That's right.
So there's this like bookend of who are you going to be?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I think we find ourselves more like the Israelites than recognizing, oh, this is clearly Yahweh. This is clearly the I am.
So this is a highlight moment, and then there's like the next morning, there's a huge shift that happens. Jethro is spending the day walking around, and he's watching Moses' behavior. And here's a lot of inserted commentary for me that's not exactly in the text, but I think it holds. You tell me if I'm wrong. He's walking around the camp, and Moses has availed himself. He's made himself available to everybody, and they're coming and bringing all of their problems to him. And it says that they stand around all day in lines waiting for this. And Jethro is like, Moses,
Mhm.
this isn't good.
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
So to then paraphrase and take it back, what you're doing is not good.
Yeah.
So what Moses is doing that's not good is he's taking everybody's burdens on himself. We realize that in many senses, the Hebrew camp is in almost chaos, lack of order, and we've talked a lot about chaos and order.
Mhm.
Part of them becoming a people is to move from chaos to order,
Yes.
and so I don't know. Do you want to pick it up from there?
I do. I do. Moses was called by God.
Hmm?
He was chosen by God.
Yes,
So it's his job. So he has to take everything upon himself
all
because
of
he's
it.
called by God,
Mm-hmm.
which is our mentality. And I say that to those of you who don't may not have caught my this is
Sarcasm.
sarcasm because pastors think I've been called by God,
Yep.
therefore I must do everything. Well, okay, Moses was called by God. Yes, that's a fact. Moses was chosen. That's a fact. But God also gave him wisdom through Jethro to say, hey, you can't do all this
Yeah.
and you don't need to.
Yep.
And so the structure is important of you're one person. You can't be the judge for a million people plus and their ticky-tack little debates.
Yep.
Like there's no need for that. And so yes, and then it comes back to we need other people. We need
Yes.
to let other people in. We need to let other people. And I'll be honest, when I pastored, I tried to do everything. A because I thought I was called,
Mm-hmm.
and B because I thought I was better at it than
Yep.
because I was called to do it. So I assumed I was better at it than everyone else. Then I realized, oh, I'm not good at a lot of things. So let's let people who are come alongside of it
Yes.
and do that.
So this is hard for all of us, I think,
It,
this idea of allowing other people in. But this is the wisdom that Jethro gives. He says, "You can't do it all. Now listen to me. I will give you some advice, and God will be with you.
Mhm.
You be the one to represent the people before God and bring their cases to Him."
Mhm.
So the leader's job here, Jethro's wisdom is, boy, you got to have time with God.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out that Moses takes that very seriously as we keep going. And then this, he says, instruct them with the statutes and the laws, teaching them a way to live, which this is interesting. Statutes and laws.
Mhm.
The Ten Commandments haven't been given yet.
Right.
So what's happening there?
Mhm.
I want you to answer that in just a minute because what I'm going to say is really practical. But you should select from all the people able, like you said, they can do this. God fearing, trustworthy, and people who hate dishonest profit or gain, bribery, and place them over the people in hundreds, fifties, and so on and so forth. This idea, thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Um, we're not all equipped to lead hundreds,
Correct.
but the person who's leading a small group of 10 is just as valuable and as
Yes.
important as the person at the top who's
Yes.
supposed to be connecting with
Yeah.
God and teaching the laws and the statutes.
Yes. Back to the idea of success.
Yes,
Well, the one who has 1,000 is a bigger success
that's right.
because 10 is smaller than 1,000. No, God defines it as obedience. If you're obedient with 10 and you're an obedient leader and you're a good obedient leader, you are as much of a success as the one over
Yeah,
1,000, 10,000, or Moses.
yeah, yeah.
So the other thing is there's this awesome play on a mediator. And
Yeah,
so he's setting up Jesus
yes,
because here we go. We're going to come to you represent
yes.
the people before
People
God.
before God.
And so
Yeah,
then Jesus comes in and represents us, takes our sin. And so,
before God.
yeah.
It's so good. This is just a little snippet I want to give out. Not that any of these people, well, some of these people aren't with us, so it won't matter. But I think back onto my own life and some of the people who were so important in my life were Sunday school teachers
Mhm.
when I was a kid.
Yep.
Rosemary Bird, and I'm just making this up. She had to be in her 70s when she was teaching me as a kid. Karen Phipps, people who they didn't run the show,
Yep.
but they were probably far more significant in my formation
Yep.
than the pastor of the church
Uh-huh.
was. Just saying,
Yes.
Sunday school teachers vitally important. You should pray about serving there. But that's
Yep.
a side note.
Shameless plug
Shameless
for.
plug. All right. What did we miss? What do we need to say? Austin's not here to corral us today, so we've gone longer than we ever
I was
have
just
before.
thinking that same thought. I was like, boy, you know what else is not here to say, hey, we've gone too long. So if
We,
you're still with us, we love you.
yeah,
Uh, there's so much. There's just so much. Golly, there's so much interplay here between need for community,
yeah,
need for togetherness. We can't do this alone. Need for recognizing Yahweh and what isn't Yahweh.
yeah,
Like seeing him work and then not being content, surrender to him in the battle. Like there are a thousand things that we'll preach
yes,
and stand alone beautifully.
yes.
And that's why I love this so much because every few lines you're like, oh wow. um so yeah, it's
You're all lucky that they encouraged and pushed me to do a whole section because I wanted to do every single one of these as a
I,
separate
all
sermon.
right. I That would be fun,
It would
but
be. Take a while.
it would take we'll be into 2028 and we'll be like
Maybe.
still in Exodus,
I
which is
think
okay
I think it
because
could have been fun, but maybe next time.
yeah.
Maybe next time we'll do that. All right. I think we're at 43 minutes and 4 seconds. I
Wow.
think we probably should call it, though we could enjoy a lot more. All right. We love you. We will see you all hopefully on Sunday morning and next Wednesday night. Is that right?
Absolutely.
All right. Signing
Take
off.
care.